Hey guys, just coming to you with a real quick update. I decided to have a quick foray into the 3D scanning world. So you can see that I've had a very accurate 3D scan done of a rear brake caliper purge, and this is off a KTM for a Brembo disc brake caliper. Then took that scan, which comes out as a 3D mesh, which is basically millions of little tiny triangles. And then I was able to take very accurate slices of that mesh through the three axes of the mesh, and then start to plot a parametric sketch out of that Fusion 360 would understand. So that took quite some time to do. So you can see that I was able to take multiple slices to start to plot the key points for that brake hanger. And then I was able to check against the 3D scan. So this workflow is a pretty interesting workflow as far as CAD/CAM is concerned, and there's sort of, everyone says, oh, I'm going to do a 3D scan and then quickly do a proper 3D part out of that. It actually takes quite some time to take the scan mesh and then more or less mimic that in components that a CAD/CAM package would understand as far as milling or machining or laser cutting. So once I was able to get those sketches done, then I was able to start to plot all of the components that's sitting behind that and basic shapes, and then start to mold them into a shape that would mimic the caliper hanger in standard shapes, and then sort of start to render those shapes together into one single component. So you can see I've removed some of the casting features and just installed features that could be machined by a CNC machine. And all the while going through that process, I checked for fitment against the original part. And interestingly, the casting, you can see, has some details that are slightly different, and also that aren't actually perfectly accurate once you start to lay them out in a perfect 3D environment, which was really interesting. One of the key things that came out of this also was that you're going to need a very, very good machine to do this, because the three-dimensional scan is actually quite a dense cloud of data points. There's about over 1 million data points in a simple part, particularly for highly accurate parts. We have clearances, and this has pretty tight clearances on the axle mount and on the caliper, and you can see here that I've ended up with a few iterations in 3D print, and we finally arrived at one that made sense.